All right, welcome everybody. This is the Prayer Revolution. Glad that you're tuning in. We're here every day, 7 days a week. This is episode 30 something, and we have been going strong since the beginning of this COVID-19 quarantine, and we plan to continue beyond. COVID-19 will come and it will go at some point, I promise. But the Prayer Revolution will be happening. It's always been happening, actually. It didn't start with us. We're just happened to be carrying one little piece of that baton forward. And I was thinking this morning of something that Srila Prabhupada said. Vira Bhadra and I, my name is Doyal Garangadas, by the way, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Vira Bhadra Ramdas, or we call him Vira, the executive director at the Bhakti Center. We each have a spiritual teacher. His name is Radhanath Swami. And his teacher, Srila Prabhupada, was a spiritual visionary and spread Bhakti and spiritual principles around the globe when he traveled. He's from India, and he traveled throughout the world in the late 60s and early 70s. And somebody once asked him, he said, why are you here? why have you come here? What are you up to? What's your purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? And he said, he was asked that question many times, and he gave many different answers on various occasions. And on this particular occasion, he said, I've come simply to remind you what you've forgotten. To remind you what you've forgotten. And I forget all the time that I'm an eternal spirit soul. I forget a lot of things. I mean, I'm the kind of person sometimes, I mean, I have a generally a very good memory, but sometimes immediate things, like I'll be going to the store, be like, hey, do you want anything from the store? And it's like, oh yeah, pick me up this. Could you pick me up, a grapefruit soda? Great, sure. And then I'll come back and it's like, oh, I forgot what you just asked me to get. I'm really sorry. And so, but we're forgetful all the time. But the most important thing that we forget constantly is that I'm an eternal pure spirit soul. I'm not this body, I'm not the identities of this world. But we pile on and cake on so many other identities. And the problems that I experience in this life are intrinsically linked to the identities which I take on and associate with myself with, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if I think I'm a beautiful young man or a beautiful young woman, then a pimple on my nose is a big problem. That's a big problem. It's a huge problem based on the identity that I've taken on for myself. If I'm a social media influencer, then not people not liking my recent post, that's a big problem. My sister, she gets 4 likes when she posts her 2-year-old daughter blowing out her birthday candles. And that's not a problem for her. It's not a problem at all because she doesn't care. She's not a social media. Those 4 people are the only 4 people that she really, my mom, our cousin, and her friend from work. Like, those are the only people that need to like her post. You know what I mean? But if I associate something else with my identity, those are the problems I take on. But none of those identities
Mm-hmm.
are real. And I've just forgotten that I'm eternal, spirit, pure spiritual soul that's full of knowledge and full of bliss. That's the Satchitananda of the
Mm-hmm.
soul. And we can remind ourselves, I'm bringing it all back. Trust me, I'm making sense here. We can bring it all back. We can remind ourselves of that by connecting to a higher spiritual power through moment to moment prayer. And that prayer is the connection we carry, whether it's in how I identify myself in this world, how I relate to my family, to my friends, to my intimate partners, go about my work, go about any small little problem that I think I'm having in the world, or big, whether it's a little problem like a pimple on my nose or nobody liking my latest post, or a big problem like the world is going to crap. Whatever those problems are, we can bring a higher power into that situation, and we can be reminded of our eternal identity. We can feel purpose, we can feel meaning, we can feel connection by responding in a mood of love and service, feeling that I'm aligning myself with God's will in my life. So that's the prayer revolution in a nutshell. It's not belonging to any religion, creed, caste, ethnicity, political party, gender. It's not belonging to anything specific. It is universal to all of us. And that's what we're here to do. And our good, fearless prayer leader, Vira Bhadra, leads us in a morning prayer from his heart, either something he wrote, something spontaneous, or something that somebody else wrote that we'll bring in. And we have a conversation about it. It's that simple.
It's that simple, Bubba.
Sound like a good idea?
Sounds like a great idea to me.
If anybody feels like that's a good idea, I encourage you to keep listening. If anybody disagreed or hated anything I say, I encourage you to also keep listening because we all need it. Sometimes the things we don't think we need, we really need. And so we love you guys, and we're glad that you're here, and love to hear from you, Vera. Tell us what's on your heart.
Sure. Yeah. So just yeah, we'll do now. We'll go into a little prayer. I wrote something today, and I'm gonna share that with you guys. And Those of us that haven't prayed with us before, just find a comfortable seat, find a comfortable place to pause in your day, your morning, your night, wherever you are, to close your eyes, to start taking nice deep inhales and exhales. The yogis teach us that the quality of our breath so much equals the quality of our experience in life. And we breathe about 20,000 plus breaths a day. And so let's take those nice deep inhales right now, just recognizing the life force that animates our body coming from a source which we have no control over. Oxygen, prana, breaths. And just relax your body, get into a space of receiving. There's nothing that you have to do right now. Just softening your body, softening your mind, getting into a space of receiving grace, opening yourself up to receive a connection with a higher power. My sweet Lord, we're all searching for meaning, truth, and love in this world. And we're ultimately searching for you. The path to your love is always available to us, but often we get distracted, lost, and forget our goal. We need guidance, direction, and trustworthy shepherds to help show us the way. Our spiritual teachers may come in many different forms and personalities, and they're often unrecognizable to our eyes. Help us to recognize your trustworthy shepherds in our life. They help illuminate our consciousness, removing our darkness with spiritual truth, and lovingly guide us back home, back to you. Let us be reminded of all those who have been instruments in our life to help us awaken spiritually. Let us place them in our hearts. And if we can't see anyone, let us plant the seed of prayer that we may soon recognize our divine loving shepherds. We may serve them and progress on the path of grace, the path of pure love for God and all the world. Just taking a few moments in silence and just bringing those images or planting the seed, the intention for those spiritual teachers in our life to come to be recognizable to our eyes with gratitude in our hearts. Bring those images, bring those faces to the forefront of your mind, of your consciousness. Those who have helped guide you. They've helped you on your spiritual journey. They've helped you on your journey of life. Gratitude in our hearts and an eagerness to reconnect to our higher power. We'll close our prayer just hearing these divine names with sincerity of heart. When we hear these sacred names of the divine, we cleanse our consciousness, we cleanse our heart, we reconnect spiritually, and we can see. The Lord becomes more visible to us in nature, it becomes more visible to us in the experiences of life, and we can see those loving shepherds, those loving guides that much more clearly. With sincerity in our listening, hearing these sacred mantras, helping us to have that spiritual vision in our life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share.
Thank you so much, Vira. Thanks for sharing. A question was coming to my mind that I just wanted to hear from you. Maybe what are some of the faces that were coming to your mind when you were bringing that up? People that have guided you and helped remind you where you want to be in life.
Yeah, well, your name, your face came up for sure. And, I was inspired to share this because I was listening to Wisdom of the Sages this morning, and And I
Mm.
was thinking about Radhanath Swami, and it just, that mood of wanting
Mm.
to, just wanting to recognize the influence that he's had in my life, wanting to really recognize like the shepherd, the guide, the loving, caring instrument, that he has been in my life.
Mm.
And of course, if I look back on my life, I can see, okay, my mother, my father, my elder brother, Arjun, my godfather, when I lived in ashrams as a kid, my ashram teacher, Ritatvaja Swami, my teacher, early on in school, Mother Jayanti, all of these teachers, the different people, that babysat me, that fed me, that showed me love in my life, and growing up in Dallas and the Hare Krishna community there. And then just kind of continuing, it's like, okay, I lived with different families growing up. I lived in ashrams growing up. I had so many mothers, so many fathers,
Mm.
so many teachers. My wife, Diana, her parents are beautiful teachers. My dear friend, Jai, Shama, Kostuba, Sundarnath, yourself, so many of our friends at the Bhakti Center. So, the list goes on and on and on as I go into that, just a little bit of that meditation. It's like, man, I've been touched by so much love in my life. I've been touched by
Mm.
so many, even if it's just small little moments, little things here and there. I've been touched and I've been guided, and I've been moved by the hands of God, through so many people, so many loving people in my life. And so it's a beautiful meditation, that it's like I've been given so much. It's like if I close my eyes and I look at it, I'm like, man, like just spent like I want to spend my life repaying those debts,
Mm.
in an amazing way. Like I don't, it's not like yeah, it's like I want to express that love.
Mm.
I want to return the favor, that's been given to me.
What does it look
So
like for you to express that love and return the favor? Because some people are no longer in our life physically. Some of them may have passed away. Some of them may have moved away. We may have moved away. Some of them we just, for whatever reason, may not be able to keep in touch as much. There are people in
yeah.
our life that we want to express gratitude to, that may not physically be in our lives. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're framing it right now is whether somebody is here physically or not. We can still express gratitude. We can still remember. We can still honor. We can still be thankful, appreciative, and just by meditating on those people, whether they're here in their physical body or not, we we start to build a bridge to all those great qualities that we appreciate in them. And so, that's one. Okay, if somebody's not here in my life, if somebody's moved on, if somebody's passed on, or somebody lives in a different place, we're not in that close physical proximity, just bringing them into our consciousness with gratitude in our heart, expressing that gratitude, we're still connecting to their spirit. We're still connecting to their atma, wherever they are, whether they're in another body or spiritual world, wherever they are, we're still connecting with them through that spiritual prayer and intention and gratitude. And if they are still here, serve them. If they are still here, don't let it just stay in the mind, find some way, and the prayers of the heart and the mind are powerful. They're super practical and powerful.
Mm.
We'll feel the effect of them. And if we can, if there is a closeness, let's find some way to serve them in a way which is meaningful,
Mm.
and which connects to their heart, right? It's like through serving somebody, we actually express love. We're actually expressing love, and we can
Mm.
actually connect, in a deeper loving relationship through that service. And
Mm.
so, if they're still here, let's find some way. Let us pray, and let us eagerly, sincerely discover the ways that we can serve
Mm.
our beloved guides and friends
Mm.
that we have that gratitude for. Those are a few thoughts. How about you? What would you say
Mm.
to that question? How can I, yeah, how can I connect and express that gratitude and serve? How can I express that gratitude in a meaningful way to people who have
Um,
touched my life?
it's interesting. I was thinking of various categories in my life, like I was thinking of, well, when I was 18 years old, I dropped out of college and I became a monk, and I kind of like disconnected myself from my family for a period of time and just was focusing there and kind of dove in, like extreme all in. And since then, it's kind of like from that point, who are the very spiritual people in my life that guided me, that taught me certain things or showed me certain examples, etc. And then it's kind of like before that point, it's like there are various teachers and people in my life, but I think like, oh, well, that wasn't part of my spiritual journey. That was just people who were nice to me or people that, you know what I mean, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that for me to
Mm-hmm.
bridge that gap of those worlds and see all of them as valued teachers and contributors to my life, that I think that if I think it starts with just being grateful for where I am right now in my life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a hard thing to do sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. But I think it starts with, if I'm grateful for where I am right now, then I have to look back and think every moment shaped me to be where I am right now. And therefore, like for example, I was thinking of my cousin Deanna, you know, who, you know, I don't keep in touch with a lot right now, or um don't, you know, isn't necessarily tuned specifically with my spiritual journey, but it's just someone who was just like always just like a loving presence in my life growing up that I can turn to, especially coming from like like a broken family where my father wasn't in the house and spending a lot of time at other people's houses. And, you know, just somebody like I respect, like as somebody who's as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a citizen, as a family member, you know what I mean? Like, so like her face just comes to mind and I think, wow, like what does she want from me? She wants me to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
As my family would tell me all the time, you know, I'm doing like I'm joining, you know, the spiritual movement. I shaved my head. I'm wearing robes and I'm, you know, doing whatever. You know what I mean? I remember I used to offer my food when I was still living in the house before moving into a temple. You know, like in Bhakti culture, you offer everything is an offering to God. Everything, whether it's, you know, before we smell a flower, we think, let me offer that to Krishna or to God first. Before we eat something, let me prepare a little plate for God and offer it on an altar. And then once he's done, then I'll be able to take my fill as mercy. And so I was living in, we would cook at home. I was 18 years old, 18 years old. And we would make dinner and I would put everything on a little plate and I would go into my room and I would ring a bell and light incense and be in there for 10 minutes and then come out with the same food and be like, okay, now I'm ready to eat. And my stepdad was like, what is he doing in there? You know, like what is going every day? I'd go, what are you doing in that room? You know, you're not eating. And it's like, you're belling and incense. And I'm just like, I'm offering it to God. And he was like, what? You know? And so like just doing all kinds of crazy, kooky things. And I forgot why I was telling that story. I was talking about my cousin Deanna.
Yeah.
No, this,
Yeah. You're
so
appreciating
people
people
would
in your
always
life.
ask me, you know, I had no idea what I'm doing and why. I remember I also, when I was living in a temple, I'd wake up every day. We'd wake up every day at 4:30 because our morning program started at 5. And sometimes I wake up early. When I would see my family, sometimes they'd be like, you know, for them, it's like, I don't have a job. I don't have any real responsibilities. You know, that's how they see it. And I would say, I wake up every day at 4:30. And I remember one of my cousins asking me, looking at me like very, very puzzled, like, why? Like, why do you wake? Oh, to pray and to meditate and these things. Like, can't you do that later in the day? Like, why are you waking up at 4:30? You know, not knowing that early morning hours are very auspicious and beautiful for practice. So there's all kinds of crazy things from their perspective they didn't understand, but they'd always be like, if it makes you happy, you know, if it's making you
Mhm.
happy, then we're happy for you. And so I recognize that, wow, it's like I almost have like me being happy can be a service to other people. Not like I'm people pleasing, et cetera, but it's like that's what people want from me. That's what the people who love me want from me. And I think you have a beautiful story also. I was thinking of this actually to tell with Radhanath Swami, where when you asked him something and that's what he gave, that's the answer that he gave. I was thinking
Yeah.
of that earlier this morning, if you want to share that story. I
Yeah.
think it's a sweet
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I was, yeah, I mean, it's a super, yeah, it's an amazing, amazing, loving, he's so loving. It's just 7 years ago, and from Portugal, I was working with clients in Portugal doing a retreat. And while I was in Portugal, I was really, for some reason, like every night when I was dreaming of him. And we were having these very kind of affectionate moments in my
Mm,
dreams. And And so like I would come out of the dreams like kind of longing for that connection. Oh my God, I just would love to have that connection more, you know. And so I came back from New York, and he flew into New York also. I came back from Europe to New York, and he came into New York also. And we knew he was coming. We didn't know what time or exactly when he was coming, but I was sitting down with my family, and we were doing a little kirtan before lunch. We were renting an apartment from the Bhakti Center, in the Bhakti Center building, and harmonium, and doing kirtan, and all of a sudden I'm kind of getting into the kirtan, and somebody comes up behind me and gives me a hug, kind of squats. I'm sitting on the ground, so like squat behind me. Their legs are around me and their arms are around me, and I just have still just enough space to kind of keep playing and doing the kirtan. And I thought, this is probably Diana. She's just like, loving me up, expressing her love. And
Diana's
so
Vira's
I
wife.
start to nut. Diana's my wife, yeah. So I start to, like nuzzle. I start to kind of like rub my head into their chest, into their chin. And I was like, and as I'm looking back and seeing those are saffron robes. This is not my wife. There is a monk that is hugging me right now. And I kind of got startled because I so thought it was Diana. It was just such an affectionate, loving embrace. And so when I look down, I see this afro, and I kind of jump a little bit, and then I, then kind of soften back in. He's just hugging me for what seems like an eternity. And close out the kirtan, and we have our little exchanges, connecting, and as he is, because he just came in, so he's just going back up to his quarters. I'm at the door, and we're saying goodbye, and I say, Rana-san, is there any way that I could serve you? And he said, he's like, just be happy, and it was something that there was a sobriety to it. It was because I felt, at that stage of our relationship, I felt like, wow, like he's really like a father, like he's this person that like I really, I get so much validation from, I get so much, there's so much reciprocation just from the interactions that we have. And I felt like he was just like a loving father, that's like, happiness is in your hands, that happiness is in your hands. I'm here to share joy. I'm here with you to be with you and express that and share that love. But happiness, ultimately, it's in your hands. Like, so that's your work, kid. And so happiness is an inside job. And so I appreciated that. It was, whatever I took from it, it was just one word, but the way it hit my heart was, wow, like actually I'm responsible for my state of consciousness. I'm responsible for my experience of life, and how I choose to perceive things, and how I choose to interact and relate and respond to life. And so it's not that just through my connection with him that he's going to give me happiness. No, it's a beautiful relationship that awards so much opportunity, but ultimately happiness is my job. And for each of us individually, happiness is our job. That's our work as we reconnect spiritually, as we clean out our hearts and clean out our consciousness. That happiness is our nature. So, I don't know if that's what you're
That's
asking for
exactly what I was
for
looking
the
for.
story.
Well, because I think it brings, it's sort of like, I think spirituality sometimes can lean a little towards a stoicism when you start to think that, like, okay, I'm not this body, material happiness is a wash, blah blah blah, and it's like, don't be too attached to the result, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then, and it's kind of can get to a place of like, why am I doing anything, you know? And I think that, we can even be so humble or sometimes self-denying that it's like, my happiness isn't that important, I don't matter, blah blah blah. But it's like,
Mm.
no, I do matter, because my happiness is important to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
if not multiple people, if not the most important person.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna wants to see me happy. God
Mm-hmm.
wants to see me happy. But again, it's kind of at the beginning. It's like, that happiness is not, you know, it's not necessarily material happiness. It's not a prosperity gospel of like, God wants to see me happy, therefore he should give me this job. And therefore, I saw once, it's like, material happiness is such a rigged system. It's like a broken slot machine. You know, it's like
Mm.
it's like I remember seeing once. This was I think 10 years ago. I was living as a monk, and I was doing laundry at the laundromat. And there's magazines there on the table to read, and one of them was a Sports Illustrated magazine with someone on the cover. It was like a sports guy, and he was praying, like this big buffed out sports guy praying like this, and it must have been around time for the Super Bowl, and it said, "Does God care who wins the Super Bowl?" You know, because everybody's praying for somebody to win. You know what I mean? And so, like every day, you read those sports shows, you watch this, like dear God, give us strength and help us beat. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's what about the other team? They're praying too. They're
Mm.
praying for the same thing, but God can only answer one of your prayers. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so, like, you're putting God in a bind here. And so it's like I'm praying for I want to get the job. Well, I mean, someone else is not going to get the job. You know what I mean? I want to pray to be this. Well, I mean, someone else is not going to get it. There are limited slices to the pie in the material world, and therefore that happiness, it just can't be there. And so it's like, well, God wants me to happy. Well, why aren't all these things working out then? Well, maybe because there's a different plan for your happiness, and to remind me of stuff that I'm somebody different. And so I think that God, it's like, yes, God wants me to be happy, and the people who love me in life want me to be happy, and therefore happiness is something worth striving for, even as a service. Even as a service, when you ask that question right at someone, my dear teacher, what do you want from me? How can I serve you? Just be happy. Just be
Mhm.
happy. That's all I want. That's all. That's why I'm here in New York. I don't want to be in New York. I want to be in Vrindavan. I
Mhm.
want to be somewhere else. I want to be, you know what I
Mm.
mean? But I'm here because I want you to be happy. So please be happy, my dear son, my dear daughter, my dear brother, my dear
Mhm.
sister. That's the
Mhm.
greatest service we can do.
Mhm. Yeah, and that it's a job. It's inside
Inside
work,
job.
appreciating you just kind of pulling it out, and that, okay, happiness, yes. Happiness is there. There will be happiness, there will be distress, there will be challenge, there will be victory, there will be these illuminating sunshine days, the perfect weather, the perfect breeze, feeling super connected. There will be the challenges that we face, and that's the nature, that's our environment that we're in. It's
Yeah.
recognizing, okay, in my environment right now, if to the degree that I'm really identifying with matter, I'm really identifying with my body, I'm identifying with all the objects of my senses in this material world, and I'm deriving fulfillment, gratification, satisfaction from those, they're going to change. That's just the environment. They'll change, they'll
Yeah.
fluctuate, and so my happiness will fluctuate. And what, the premise of bhakti is that happiness is intrinsic, that happiness is the nature of our
Mm.
soul. And that, just like we're little sheep, we're in this material world, wandering through this material world, we need that guidance, to keep us on that path inward, the path toward the soul, the path of actually revealing and illuminating our spiritual nature. And so that's kind
Mm.
of, that was my inspiration today, is that, man, I'm not going to do it on my own. We talk about this so often. And really, I want to take shelter. I want to take shelter of those guides who I see experiencing that inner kingdom, that inner oasis, satisfaction and happiness and connection with God. So
Mm.
I want to be guided by them. That's the goal that I'm seeking. I want to be guided by them, and to keep moving progressively, no matter what is happening, no matter what. There's so many stories, so many examples in life. No matter what's happening outside, that I feel a movement toward meaning, toward purpose, toward love, toward connection with God. And I see the opportunities to express love and to serve in every moment, whether my body is emaciated, whether I'm going through some major difficulty or challenge in life, that I'm continuing to progress on that inward journey. So
Mm.
that is, yeah, feeling grateful to be reminded of that every single day, looking at your beautiful, smiling faces. Every one of our friends, our beautiful little sheep. We're all little sheep together. We're having a conversation and a dialogue, and we're reminding ourselves, yeah, let's find those shepherds. Let's illuminate. Let's pray that our eyes can be illuminated, that we can see the teachers around us. Every moment God is speaking. Every moment there's a whisper that's coming through the wind, through the sun, through nature, through the conversations we have, through our teachers, our friends. through all the things that are happening in the world, there's a whisper that's underneath all of it that's guiding us, giving us direction back home. So
Yeah.
let our eyes see that, let our ears hear that, let our hearts feel that today more and more. Let's pray for
Yeah. Vera's so loving that when he calls us sheep, it warms our hearts.
that.
No one can get away with that. We love you guys. We
Our
love you
little
so
sheepies.
much. Little sheepies. Vera, we love you. We love all the people. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the people joining in live on Zoom. If you are tuning in on Instagram Live, we're glad we're here too. Please go ahead and also check out us on, we have a live Zoom chat. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, your feedback. We have a live Zoom chat form here where you can interact and participate with us and other people on the call. We're here every day, 9 a.m. to 9:30. Prayer Revolution. We'd love to have you join us regularly. You can find us on SoundCloud or YouTube. Go to bhakticenter.org/online to find our other offerings, or write to us at prayerrevolution@bhakticenter.org. And we also, if you want to spend some more time with Vera Budger today, at 10 o'clock today, you're doing your training, your workshop, Vera?
Yeah, we are doing a marmotherapy workshop at 10 a.m. If you guys are going to sign up, you got to sign up in the next 5 minutes because
Monique, you coming, Monique?
we going to
Monique's
get it
going to be
going.
there. Vera Budger's doing a marmotherapy and Ayurvedic healing workshop at 10 a.m. today about self practices you can do at home with yourself, because you're pretty much only at home with yourself these days. So things you can do to heal your body, to tune up your body, to nourish your body, physical practices, and just Ayurvedic home self-care. And also a couple weeks from now, May 19th, that's the date, May 19th. Vera's doing a 4-week integrated lifestyle transformation course. If you want to know how to take some of these principles in a practical way of living your life to the fullest, guided by spiritual values, you can tune in with him also, bhakticenter.org/online. We love you guys, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. All the best. Peace out.
Love you guys. Love you, bro.
Okay. Love you guys. Take care.